Now I'm going to turn our focus to the organization that represents 60% of world gold trade. This is the over-the-counter market in London, which takes place between members of the London Bullion Market Association, or LBMA. All of the information I'm going to present in this video, as well as in my next, is fully available in a publication from the LBMA simply titled The Guide. It is a fun little 95-page read for anyone who wants to fill in some of the finer details that I miss here, but I'll cover the important points. To start off, what is an over-the-counter market? Well, put quite simply, it's a market that facilitates transactions between two members engaging in bilateral trading. All risks are between those two parties. There are 143 member companies of the LBMA. A couple of weeks ago, there were 12 market makers, but since the Bank of Nova Scotia is leaving their gold trading desk, there will now be 11. These market makers are familiar names: BNP Paribas, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, ICBC Standard Bank, JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Standard Chartered, Toronto Dominion, and UBS. Deals between these members tend to be in standard quantities, but each of the members have multiple clients, and so these members can agglomerate activity so as to provide their clients with services for non-standard quantities and qualities. This is quite different than an exchange-traded market. So, what are the functions of the LBMA? There are several. They maintain and audit the precious metals vaults for stored LBMA gold, silver, platinum, and palladium bars. They set the standards that need to be met for bars before they enter the LBMA system from either refiners or from other bar owners who would like to bring their bars to the LBMA for trading. They maintain a list of each bar according to owner, custodian, weight, and fineness according to serial number. They provide clearing services to ensure honorable settlement of trades. They set twice per day the price at which clearing will take place. There are a number of other functions, but these are the important ones. Before we get to the fun stuff, we need to talk about the LBMA standard, which is known as the London Good Delivery Bar. We all know as purchasers of gold and silver on the retail market that the price per troy ounce of a metal will depend upon the size of the coin or bar, its purity, the amount to be purchased, and other distinguishing features such as the mint that produced the coin. So when we talk about the price, it's very important to be absolutely clear about these things up front. Dealing in contracts is impossible without standards. The standards for the gold and silver bars on the LBMA are shown here. The gold bar must be between 350 and 430 troy ounces and be at least 99.5% pure. There are dimension standards as well. The length must be within 40 millimeters of 250, for example. Dimensioning is important for efficient storage. The LBMA also specifies that certain markings distinguish each bar. They must be marked with a serial number, a refiner assay stamp, the fineness, and the year in which the bar was made. These are important because they make inventory possible. They also make it possible for trades to be fairly settled. After all, although these are considered standards, there is a lot of variability bar to bar. If a transaction between two parties for 1,200 troy ounces of gold is agreed upon, as an example, it cannot be settled fairly using 3 bars weighing 350 ounces each, despite the fact that each of these bars conform to the standard. London Precious Metals Clearing Limited, the clearing organization for LBMA, will ensure that bars for settlement are located that come the closest to meeting the desired trade size and will make adjustments for whatever overage or underage results as a result of bar variability. More about that in another video. This is the standard for which LBMA sets the price benchmark, or the fixings. When a price is fixed by LBMA, it is for London Good Delivery bars. There are a couple of finer points related to price. Location and time are important as well. When the price is quoted, it is implicit that the price is for a bar located and transacted in London. It is also understood that when the price is quoted, it is for delivery of a currency and metal affected 2 business days after an agreed-upon transaction. Obviously, great care must be taken to ensure that the bars meet the standard before being brought into the LBMA vaulting system. Even if we only consider the potential value of each gold bar being above $500,000, one can appreciate the importance of the assay being impeccable. But think about the value of the LBMA system as a whole. As I mentioned in my last video, the OTC market conducts $65 billion worth of transactions per day, according to the World Gold Council. Imagine what would happen if trust in the integrity of the bars inside the LBMA vaults were to be compromised. It would be a disaster for every member company of the LBMA. So great care is taken when bringing bars into the system. Consequently, one can appreciate why the bars tend not to leave the LBMA vault system. It is pretty expensive to bring a bar back in once it's removed. Oh, and by the way, early in my metals buying experience, I learned the hard way that this is one of the reasons why you don't want to buy a 1,000-ounce silver bar and store it outside of a COMEX vault. Don't ask. As mentioned a moment ago, clearing is handled by London Precious Metals Clearing Limited, which is a legal entity that is part of the LBMA. It acts as the heart of the London OTC system. What it does is it handles the daily clearing of paper transactions between LBMA members. As I'll show on my next slide, many of the paper transfers cancel each other out, and so the amount of metal that actually changes ownership on a given day is less than the sheer volume of transactions taking place. During the course of a day, tens of billions of dollars worth of transactions are made. The transactions are made with paper, or should I say digital, claims on certain amounts of unallocated gold. By unallocated, I mean a set of listed gold bars that are commingled in London to facilitate large amounts of trade to take place without the bars actually changing their physical location. These tens of billions of dollars worth of paper transactions result in the exchange of credits between the members. At the end of the day, all of the transactions are analyzed, many of them cancel each other out, and any imbalances at the end are cleared, meaning that they are settled by transferring ownership of the underlying metal. The rights given by the London Precious Metals clearing entity to call unallocated gold on deposit is what gives the paper transactions a status akin to gold-backed currency. By the way, if you see similarities here between this system and gold-backed banking of the past, you are absolutely right. The two main differences are, one, because clearing is done every day, the fractional reserve gold-backed money only exists for a short period of time. And two, it's a gold-backed money system for the rich and powerful that you and I don't have access to. I'm going to read you some specific text in the LBMA guide that makes it very clear that gold is money. It says, probably in excess of 90% of all precious metals traded on the interbank wholesale OTC market clear over unallocated local London accounts. Ultimately, this reflects a debit or credit over an account, and the account holder has a claim on the general pool of metal held by its clearer, rather than a specific bar. Therefore, a credit balance on an account means that the owner of the metal has credit exposure to the institution where the account held. In this respect, it is analogous to a current checking account held with a bank for a currency. And now we get to the fun stuff. We can go to the LBMA website and gather the clearing statistics. I'm showing here both gold and silver. We can see that in March of this year, 29 million troy ounces worth of gold cleared for a dollar value of $46 billion. It's interesting, isn't it, that gold traded in London is traded in dollars? There's a reason for that, which I'll cover in another video. For now, let's just compare this against the trade volume listed by the World Gold Council, which I showed in my last video. According to the WGC, the daily volume of gold transactions on the London OTC is 1,560 metric tons per day, or 50 million troy ounces. On a monthly basis, this is a little over 1 billion troy ounces. But remember, this is the daily volume of business transactions that are backed by gold. At the end of each day, all of the business transactions clear. Many of them cancel out, and only the imbalances are settled with real title to the gold changing hands. So the 46 billion ounces of gold that actually changed hands in London in March represented only 3% of the actual transactions. The daily volume of gold-based transactions is about 30 times as large as the actual settled transactions at the end of the day. The amount of gold-backed transactions is absolutely enormous. It highlights the fact that although gold is being used as a backing for these transactions, which instills confidence, it sits very still, just as it should in your own vault. Okay, so now I've covered the basics of London OTC standards, vaulting, and clearing. In my next video, I'm going to cover the very exciting topic of metals lending. Yes, metals are lent at interest. It's an extremely important and interesting topic. Stay tuned, friends.